This is Diablo 3 now on Xbox Game Pass. Be sure to like the videos, subscribing is great as well. It's fantastic to finally see another Diablo game arrive on the service here. This is the third mainline entry, which is basically subtitled Reaper of Souls. And it was something that launched early on in the Xbox One era. It was a pretty interesting offering just in terms of being something that was, you know, the Diablo series on a console, but also like the full Diablo experience on console, mostly full. And then, you know, on top of that, going in a little bit of a different direction from the previous Diablo games, which were kind of a lot more grim, dark, and miserable, to something that is a little bit more light. Like, obviously, there is, you know, I guess you would say some level of, like, darkness and everything to it, and there's all this corruption stuff going on, but this is the way they do, like, the damage numbers and stuff like that, getting to ridiculously high, like, 130k damage or something per hit here. It's just kind of the way they do that is a little more cartoony, if that makes sense. And then obviously Diablo 4 goes back to the darker sort of aesthetic, but yeah, quite interesting to see basically reusable parts. To see this franchise continue to become available on Game Pass, I think that's absolutely fantastic. And this one in general, quite feature complete, you know, you've got all the different content, all the different environments and crawling, and like it's a finished game, right? So you get the whole experience that some people had to wait quite a while for. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Thanks, random loot goblin thing. All kinds of cool toys, nice. And then, of course, you know, traditional Diablo fashion, you'll pick from your various class options, build up a character, go on the story, explore, and then there'll be, like, some dungeons that have more, like, repeating levels of, like, replaying them. Yeah, and then you can play alone, or you can play with others, four-player co-op. It's kind of nice, you know, it's well set up, pretty well designed, you know, some vibrant visuals. It's kind of funny, because, like, the environment is a lot more heavenly in this one around, which is interesting, but, you know, it is kind of funny, because you're probably so used to, like, Diablo being this darker series, right? At least that's what I think of when I think of Diablo, and this, like, tonally, this one is a lot easier going. So yeah, at this point you get the Reaper Souls expansion. That's what kind of brought this to consoles. And then I guess there's also the Rise of the Necromancer. There's like a full Eternal version of this, and yeah, they just kind of were the big sort of expansions, and the point of which this arrived for the console, which was kind of interesting. So this game did get, since we are here on the Series X, this game did get I guess you would say a next gen aware update, which was kind of appreciated. This happened a few years back, so it is a 4K resolution at 60 FPS, and it looks really, really good in terms of, you know, visuals and aesthetics and everything like that. The Caldium, and then it's pretty easy to play and work through. You know, you just go through the different areas, battling foes, and hack and slashing your way through everything, collecting better gear and loot, and then cranking up difficulty to have more of a challenge. And yeah, it's a pretty straightforward kind of game, and then there's different skills you have available to unleash upon your enemies. And we're just kind of having an easygoing hack and slash time as we talk through this one and showcase it, see what it has to offer, and then, you know, kind of going from there. But yeah, it was kind of an interesting series. Like, it's kind of funny because I remember playing this with my pal, and then I think we just literally ran into some person that was super high leveled, and they just kind of like roamed us right through the whole game in the sitting. It was kind of wild. Kind of wild for sure. And this was a long time ago. I didn't really think of it much afterwards, because it was like a really big deal, because it was like, oh, you know, Diablo on the console. And then nowadays, they launch day and date with consoles and stuff like that. And, you know, like, the gaming is just so much more different than it was back then. And yeah, it's kind of about time, though. I was really... It's interesting that the third one kind of gets added, because I was sort of expecting... Like, we did get Diablo 1 on PC for the Game Pass, and then we have Diablo 4. You assume they would go with Diablo 2, because, you know, that comes before 3, but I'm assuming it's because of the age, with Diablo 2 being, like, the resurrected version, so obviously they've done a lot more work in modernizing that game, and that one I was kind of expecting almost to get first, but it's sort of this hilarious reverse thing where we went from like Diablo 4 to 1 on PC, I guess, and then 3, and then eventually 2, I would imagine. I hope it's not another whole year of waiting. Like they are trickling them out painfully towards us, which is kind of funny. Definitely a painful trickling of content to enjoy these games, which is a little disappointing because it's like just kind of want to have this series available and get playing, but it's nice to have an excuse to sit back and play this game because I don't think otherwise I really would have. Like, I'm very happy with Diablo 4. Like, it's cool if you're sort of somehow finished playing that game, like you're running out of content and you want to go back and enjoy more Diablo. I think it's kind of cool to go back and do this, but like I don't know if it's as compelling of a Diablo to go back to as compared to like Diablo 2 or something like that. Like, this game's fine, it's fun. Like, seriously, it looks nice and clean and sharp and everything like that as far as this game can. I mean, it's definitely showing its age, I think, a little bit more. Whoa! Pretty cool, right? Like, it definitely, it seems almost a little bit more cartoonish and silly at this point, which is kind of hilarious, but yeah, it's still a pretty great game, It's still got a lot of content, hours and hours and hours of gameplay, and different characters you can play as, so like, it does not hurt to go and check this one out. It's just, mostly what I'm trying to say is, like, if you are familiar with kind of Diablo, in terms of, like, 4 or 2 Resurrected, like, obviously this one is gonna be a little, gonna be a little different because it's got like such a different tonal vibe to it. I don't remember fighting this thing at all. The Lord of Lies. Sure, whatever. I might have to do like a rerun of this almost because it's just literally been that long where I'm just like, huh. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this is really challenging for people doing this like the first time through and stuff. Or doing a nightmarish difficulty, you'd come in here and feel the challenge for sure on this one. It's cool, Logan. Yeah, but it is kind of funny, just like, wow, you really can see the decade or so gap between, what they were kind of accomplishing with this and then what they were accomplishing with Diablo 4. It is a big difference for sure. Huh. Goodbye. I gotta say, I'm somewhat disappointed, I was expecting more of a fight from a giant, creepy-looking monster monster thing than that. Okay, wow, I guess we could use the horse to get out of here faster. Yeah, I was kind of expecting a little bit more of a intensity from that kind of a thing. Alright, let's go find another area and then talk about this some more. The sewers? No, thank you. What about Westmark? Westmark Heights. It's just the world design. It's like a little bit more simplistic compared to like Diablo 4. The Survivors Enclave, that's where we're leaving. So 20 years have passed since the Primevals were defeated and banished from the world of Sanctuary. Now you must return to where it all began, the town of Tristram. Investigate the rumors of a fallen star, for this is the first sign of evil's rebirth and an omen that the end times have begun. Not again. Fight for Sanctuary in the latest season, or like the last season. So this is another game that did have like seasons. Like, this basically was sort of a live service thing, like before we were kind of calling it that. Like, there was a lot of content in that release for this game, so that's what they're talking about. Slaying hordes, fighting bosses, a campaign with, the usual intense, emotionally driven Blizzard cinematics. For the time, of course, but I mean, they still kind of hold up pretty well. And then on top of that, like I mentioned earlier, different classes, several different classes, so you got different options. Maybe I'll do like a bit of a rerun through this, with the dropping on, being on Game Pass, kind of like pick a different, character class or something and then work through this would be kind of fun. Legendary spoils, better equipment, and endless replayability. It's always going to be different as you revisit places, but yet things are slightly unique. What? No way. And then I got like the follower guy, obviously. He's been following me around the whole time, living his best life and stuff like that, kind of working with me. And the game is a lot more difficult than like what's being shown here. Like obviously I'm a high-level character kind of roaming through, just on a normal kind of thing, just to show myself being all super powerful and that. But I could always crank up the difficulty and just get like smoked. Absolutely smoked, as things should be when playing Diablo, am I right? Yeah, kind of a wild experience. I don't know, like, I think this game's pretty decent, like, honestly. It's solid. I remember having fun with it, and it seems a little sillier after playing, you know, Diablo 2 Resurrected and Diablo 4. It's just like totally, it's like, haha, but it's got all the stylings of Diablo, right? These destroyed places, everything's chaotic, nothing's going well for our folks, and we're having to fight off all these, you know, enemy forces and stuff, and yeah, I don't know. I like what it has to offer. I think it's got a decent mood and atmosphere. It's just very different. That's the thing I want to get across, because I'm like sure some people this will probably be the first time they maybe take a look at Diablo 3, and you're just gonna be like, wow, this is quite different. Or maybe you'll be like, oh yeah, it's Diablo, which it is. And you know, they did a lot of adjustments over the years too. There were some parts of the game that were a bit odder. It's just, yeah, the thing that really strikes out to me, especially after spending a ridiculous amount of time playing Diablo 4 since it came out, that it's just like they had the giant numbers across the screen and everything like that. They were embracing gameplay mechanics and stuff like that of the time and trying to like get into that more, when yeah, they probably could have just stuck with the existing, you know, styling of Diablo, and it would have been fine too. I get what they were going for though, that's for sure, but it is kind of funny going back and playing this. So revisiting games is interesting, because they are, to a degree, a reflection of their time. A gift for Canada? What? No way. I guess I won't give him that gift. Can I at least take the Master Emerald? Thank you. I could sit here and reorganize my inventory, but I can't be bothered. And even if there is good loot out of that stuff, I can always just get better loot later and just not care. As odd as that makes sense, yeah. It's also neat because this one is a little bit, it's more streamlined too, right? Because like Diablo 4 is obviously like a massive continent open world experience, right? And this one is still, you're moving through the streets, moving through areas. Like there's the open world map, like you've seen many times, and there's like the offshoots where you go into like these little tiny little experiences to do smaller stuff. Like it's, you know, it's what you're used to, but it is kind of funny. Just like the design gameplay is a little different, where it's not just like these endlessly massive Arthur. Oh wow, you gotta kill Arthur. Massive open world areas that you're visiting and going through. You're just sort of more tightly doing your area to area, and it's kind of fun playing in co-op too. Like if you can, you know, play this in co-op, it's definitely recommended, because like I said, it's just 4 players, but it's also like, you know, locally you can have like 4 players too, which is really cool, because like not many games have that, especially on like the Xbox One era. Having a game doing that is actually kind of really genuinely impressive. Yeah, seriously, like it's kind of a big deal that that is an option for this game. And it just gets crazy when there's like 4 of you just kind of like mowing down areas and stuff. It really takes me back to those grindy streets of Diablo. Did I just get eaten by that dog and spit out? That's kind of funny. Yeah, this actually kind of getting motivated to sit here and maybe do another character run or something like that. It's the magic of these almost re-release like events for these games. It's just, you know, kind of getting into the vibe and the mood of it. Yeah, I quite like this. Obviously, you know, super smooth running, resolution-wise fantastic. Like I said, it was kind of a random upgrade too. When that popped up there, it was a very, very nice quality of life improvement for the game. something older games like this, very sparingly do you get to see that kind of improvement. So it's always a pleasure when that sort of a thing drops, because you're just like, oh, you know, it's kind of nice, right? Just because you're never expecting any of that at all. Also remember this game, like I said, it went through many iterations. You know, there was the whole thing with the auction house and stuff like that. It is basically like an older version of what you would just call it was like a live service game in the modern era. Long-term support, long-term seasons, long-term updates. Yeah, that's exactly what this is. Very, very interesting. Isometric aesthetic. Oh yeah, it is. Proprietary engine technologies, and then multiplayer being a big thing in this one. Wires. Oh yeah, that was the thing too, the whole internet connection thing, because it's such a seamless multiplayer game. I wonder if that's going to impact this game long term, or if they've kind of adjusted that since. Hardcore mode. Yeah. If you want things to be even more grueling, you need to buy and sell stuff. We talked about the auction house. PvP stuff. Yeah, it's a pretty full package, right? Like, it's filled to the brim with stuff. A long fabled story for Diablo 3. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Ugh. I think story-wise too, it's decent. Like, we kind of talked about it being like set like 20 years after, but like the story in this is fine too. Like, you get to see places that you don't really see in the other games because you get to deal with like the divinity element of it. Yeah, it's kind of neat. The whole like basically going to these divine locations and battling, because that wasn't something you were really expecting in well, I mean, that you were in this one because they were teasing with it, but I don't know, it just feels so tonally quite different than others. And I do ponder mostly what people that like really were there the whole way, like the whole journey of this game, kind of think of this one, because it is, I don't know how to describe it, like it is fascinating. Like, the game thoroughly changed over its many years of being worked on and being developed and getting post-launch support. Like, it genuinely has changed a lot. The Vermin Alley. Oh, that's fun. Love these when you're exploring and finding little different offshoots. Oh yeah, doing 170,000 damage to poor rats. Yeah. I guess they should basically be insta-dying because, you know, we're at such a ridiculous level height. And yeah, there's a neat charm to it. It's cool because you go from, like, if you play Diablo 2, that one definitely feels like that. Diablo 2 is just really amazing, obviously. But then just the gameplay evolution between this one and then the fourth one is just like where they were working towards. Oh, you're a plagued vermin. Okay, my bad. I'll kill you. Oh no, Sprinter. Yeah, let's kill him. Enemy of the Fute clan. That's Ninja Turtles, right? Yeah, Ninja Turtles. Sorry. Kind of funny. So anyways, like I was saying, it's just kind of neat because you see the gap technology between, like, going from the traditional solo thing of Diablo 2 to something that's a bit more streamlined in multiplayer, and then the fourth game completely embracing the multiplayer experience of it. It's neat because I guess in theory they could have just kept doing this one if they really wanted to, but eventually you gotta move on and do the next big thing. Otherwise, it's just like stuff just kind of plateaus. That's what was kind of interesting because, like, I covered Diablo 4 to review and stuff, and it was really neat being part of that on the ground floor and thinking about, wow, you know, like, this will probably be like a decade of Diablo and seeing how much it changes. And that was the thing for this game for a lot of people too. Like, obviously I jumped in and, like, I always kept paying attention to it, but I jumped into it with the Xbox One release of it and really played through it there. And, you know, even thinking of that one at that time, and then because I'm using literally a disc to play this. That's whole House of Madness. That's what I'm talking about. Oh. Is that because you're here, Hamish? Anyways, it's just kind of neat because like, and then eventually there'll be like another Diablo someday. And, oh, it's kind of cool. Anyways, needless to say, Diablo 3 Xbox Game Pass certainly worth playing and checking out if you're into Diablo or dungeon crawlers and looking for something like this.
The voices speak to me again.